Paul Goldschmidt has been on a tear recently. Are you starting to change your mind about whether or not we should bring him back for next season? This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio, and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I do want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube as well. Make sure you stop by, like, subscribe, and comment to interact with us. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. So the Cardinals and Brewers had a heck of a game on Tuesday night, with the Cardinals coming out on top in 12 innings by the score of 7-4. Beautiful stuff. One of the keys to that victory was first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, who has just been knocking the cover off the ball in recent days. And it's got a lot of people feeling mixed emotions, myself included, about what to do with him in 2025. Now, we know this has not been a great year for Paul Goldschmidt. Everybody knows that. First 122 games of the season, Goldie was hitting .226, 19 home runs, 49 RBIs, 145 strikeouts, 286 OBP. He was slugging just 383, the OPS at 696. Everything career lows. Not a whole lot of good going on there, right? Seems like anytime he had to come up in a clutch situation, couldn't get the job done. It's been tough. It's been tough for a lot of Cardinals this year. It's not just Goldie, but Goldie's supposed to be one of your big bats, right? He's supposed to be one of those guys in the middle of the order that comes through in those situations. And when he doesn't, it stands out. It's a glaring problem when he doesn't come through. So those stats take you up to August 23rd, all right? Extremely disappointing for everyone involved. You've seen the interviews with him. Like, it obviously has taken its toll on him personally. He's been down. He's been upset about it, just like all the fans have. Like, it's not like it doesn't bother him. He's like, nah, whatever. No, man, it hurts him. He hates not being able to come through for his teammates, for the fans. Ali has repeatedly pointed out that it's not due to a lack of effort. You know, he's in the cage daily. You see the video footage and the pictures of him before games, taking extra batting practice. He's doing all the work behind the scenes. And nobody's ever accused, Goldie of not doing those things. But Ali, he points it out because he doesn't want people to get the wrong idea that, he's struggling because he just doesn't care as much anymore, or anything like that. It's not laziness, nothing like that. It's just been a tough year for the guy, for him and Nolan Arenado. Father Time catches up with everyone eventually. And unfortunately for the Cardinals, maybe both of your cornerstone guys had their tickets punched in the same season. Bad luck, bad timing all around. It would be nice that you could spread that out a little bit. Nato's supposed to be able to keep going until he gets to where Goldie is now. He's a few years younger than him, but it's been a rough go. But since August 23rd, something has changed. Something has certainly changed about Paul Goldschmidt. Smiling a little bit more, obviously. Something changed with his mechanics, with his approach. Whatever it is. Brought up that it looks like he's opened up his stance a little bit. Small little things like that. What was once broken appears to be up and running like new again, out of nowhere. In the past 10 games, Paul Goldschmidt has got a 10-game hitting streak where he's hitting .513. He's 20 for 39. He's got 10 extra base hits, 2 home runs, 8 doubles. He's hit a double in 6 consecutive games. He's got 9 RBIs. His OBP is at .537, slugging up to .872. The OPS, a ridiculous 1.408. His batting average on balls in play is a hilarious 621. Like, crazy stats right now over his last 10 games. Like, he's as hot as anybody in baseball right now. The anomaly, though, when I went back and looked at all these stats, is that in all of this, with the 10-game hitting streak and as much as he's been on base, do you realize Paul Goldschmidt has only scored twice? Twice! That's crazy. And he knocked himself in for both of those runs on the 2 home runs that he said. That's the only times he scored. How is that possible? Like, I have no idea. Kind of funny. He's been on base over 50% of the time in the last 10 games and nobody's been able to knock him in. It's kind of crazy. Like, how's that possible? Anyway, the Paul Goldschmidt we're seeing right now, that is not the guy that we thought we'd see. You know, clearly this is like a super Goldie at the moment. What we're looking at is the stats in between the first 122 games and then what you've seen in the last 10 games. Kind of the middle area there is kind of what you were hoping for from Paul Goldschmidt. That's what you were expecting. The question that's being brought up now is, does it give you hope about next year? Is there something that Goldie has figured out now that makes you believe that next year he's going to be more like himself compared to what we've seen for the first 122 games of this season? Is it enough? Is the 10 games that you've seen enough that you'd offer him a deal to come back next season? Because Goldie is a free agent at the end of the year. He's making $26 million this year, which is the second highest AAV for first baseman behind only Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers. He has already said he intends to play again next year. He's not retiring. He wants to come back. I wouldn't imagine that anybody is going to give a soon-to-be 37-year-old, because his birthday is coming up in a few days, soon-to-be 37-year-old who has seen his numbers decline rapidly since his MVP season a couple years ago, $26 million per. Like, that would shock me if somebody was like, yeah, we'll give it to you. But if he were willing to take a discount, let's say he's willing to take a 1-year deal, would you be interested in bringing Paul Goldschmidt back? This is my question for you. Would you want him back on the team if he wants to come back, of course? I mean, he's got the freedom to go anywhere he wants if the Cardinals don't bring him back. Would you be willing to give him somewhere between $15 and $20 million to bring him back? The reason why I say that number is because they're playing the Brewers. Rhys Hoskins, he signed a deal, and I think he's supposed to make $18 million next year. So would you give him something similar to that, between $15 and $20 million? I have my reservations, obviously, because we've seen what Goldie did all year last year and then 122 games this year. Compared to these 10 games, like, are we really going to go off of just a 10-game stretch instead of the big bulk of stuff we've seen and tape we've seen on what Goldie has done in the last almost 2 years of baseball? I mean, you remember at the end of that MVP season, he had a tough go at the end of the year, and then it was a down year the year after that. And then this year has gotten worse, except for this 10-game stretch. You know, are we going to judge off of the bigger body of work, or are we going to let this 10-game hot streak skew us a little bit and be like, yeah, he's back. We want him to be back. We wish he was, but people get on hot streaks all the time. Doesn't mean I'm ready to throw $15 million at them. Goldie has only been in 2 places so far in his career, right? Arizona Cardinals. He's never won a World Series. So he might want to take his talents to a team that has a chance to do that. I don't think the Cardinals are in a place right now where they're going to be competing for a World Series next year. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but when you just look at roster construction and stuff, it seems like they're not there yet, barring any major signings and stuff this offseason. I certainly think there will be teams that have a better chance at winning a World Series that would be interested in a Paul Goldschmidt. So I think he's going to have some opportunities. Arizona, Christian Walker, their first baseman, is set to become a free agent. Would the Diamondbacks be interested in bringing Goldie back on a 1 to 2 year deal instead of trying to lock in Christian Walker at age 34 for probably a 3 or 4 year deal? Would they be interested in bringing him back? That's a possibility. The Cardinals' plan moving forward would seem to be a combination of Alec Burleson and Luken Baker at first base if they don't bring him back. I don't hate that idea. I really don't. Like seeing what Luken's been able to do against left-handers, what Alec Burleson has done against righties all year, that's a nice combination. It would free up money to explore other needs, specifically in the pitching department, where you might have to sign a few relievers this offseason if guys like Kittredge don't come back. That could be a thing. Obviously, you could always explore another starter. It doesn't appear that Gibson and Lynn are going to be back in your rotation, but we'll see. It's a tough spot. Because you love Goldie. We love Goldie. Great guy. He's been a rock for you since coming over in that trade with the Diamondbacks. His teammates love him. He's one of Nolan Arenado's best friends. So if he's willing to come back between 15 and 20 million on a 1 year deal with the possibility of a second, maybe, would that be something that you would want to try? If you bring him back and want him to take a lesser role on the team, does it make sense to pay someone that, that kind of money to not be an everyday starter? I don't think so. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I still have my reservations. I'm of the guy that's like, all right, maybe it's time to just kind of move on and do some other things with the money that you've got, and to start thinking about more of the future than hanging on to the past. That's kind of where I'm at, because the last couple of years, we haven't won with him. And the odds that he's just all of a sudden going to find the fountain of youth just because he's been good this last 10-game stretch does not mean that that's who you're going to get the next few years going forward, or at least next year. So I have my reservations. I think I would rather go with the youth. I'd rather see a Baker Burleson combo meal over there at first base. I think that would be great. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. So let me know in the comments. We can revisit this tomorrow and do some fan feedback. I want to talk about the thrilling win on Tuesday night and the non-catch in extra innings. We'll get to it next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, whether it's power, style, whatever you're looking for, eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, and you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit. It is guaranteed to go on your car the way it's supposed to every single time, or they're going to give you your money back. They're not going to keep it from you. You're like, well, sucks to be you. That is not what they're going to do. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast hosted by Sully, who is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has you covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Tuesday night, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. It was a fun game to watch if you're like a diehard baseball fan, because it pretty much had everything you could want. The pitching was strong on both sides, because there was a part of this game where not a whole lot of things happened offensively, but there were tense moments. There was just good pitching. You got the ejections. You had the home runs. You had some pretty good defensive plays. Clutch hitting. We go to extra innings. You had a sprinkle of controversy mixed in. And after all of those ingredients were put in place, out of the oven comes a 7-4 Cardinals victory, which was just the icing on the cake for the game. Steven Matz made his return to the mound for the Cardinals. Weren't really sure what we were going to get. Didn't know. Haven't seen him in a long time. What was it? April 30th was the last time he was on the mound for the Cardinals. Outside of the 2 solo home runs, pretty impressed. Pretty impressed with what he brought to the table. Like, he was up, down, in, out, changing speeds. Good pitching performance by one Steven Matz. Didn't last as long as you'd like, obviously. 4 2/3. You're hoping you can stretch him out a little bit more, but he had those 7 strikeouts, which, extends your pitch count a little bit. But he had 7 Ks against what is a very tough Brewers lineup. They make you work for it. If you're going to strike them out, they're going to foul some pitches up. They're going to take a lot of pitches. They're not an easy lineup to get through. So very encouraging with the Steven Matz stuff. And for me personally, I wouldn't hate it to have the Cardinals throw in a little variety in their rotation. I mean, most of this year, it's been all right-handers in the starting rotation, which, when you're facing a team 3 and 4 days in a row, as just righty, makes it a little bit easier for the other team. So to be able to break that up with a left-hander like Matz, I think that's a good thing for the rotation. He's just got to stay healthy. That's the bottom line with Steven Matz. We had Ali and Daniel Descalso getting ejected in Milwaukee again, as they both got tossed. Hello, Mother's Day Part 2. Another issue with balls and strikes. That's why these guys get tossed most of the time. Specifically, the issues were with the top of the zone on Tuesday night. Some things were getting called for the Brewers early on that the Cardinals weren't getting calls on. It was a bit of a problem, and they let their home plate umpire know about it, and he didn't like it so much. So they get run in the 4th inning, and it actually, sometimes these guys get run, and it's to the benefit of the team as far as, getting them pumped up or whatever. But this actually seemed to work as far as getting the home plate umpire to open things up to call the top of the zone for both teams from that point on, because Lance Barrett, who was the home plate umpire, after that, he was calling the top of the zone for everybody. I watching when Matthew Liberatore came in, he was just drilling the top of the strike zone, and Lance Barrett was calling it. He was calling it later in the game. So it appears that it did do some good. Now, the picture I got up on YouTube right now, I think it's kind of funny because you got Lance Barrett and Ollie, which that's got to be a tough scene. When you're Ollie and you're arguing about something and you're heated and the other dude is like 4 inches taller than you and is just looking down on you. It's like you as a kid, like yelling at your dad, and he's just looking down on you like, really? And then you got Paez and Contreras like face to face discussing whatever, but it looks like they're about to square off. But that did not happen in the game. But just an interesting picture. So if you're on YouTube, you're seeing it, and kind of cool. Anyway, after Matz leaves the game, the bullpen, outstanding, right? You get the combo of Fernandez, Joe Kittredge, and Libby. They toss 5 1/3 innings of shutout ball, allowing just 1 hit. They walked 2, although one of those was an intentional pass. It was a good intentional pass on Churio later in the game. They strike out 6. Props to them for being awesome. Again, very impressed with what Matthew Liberatore has become in the bullpen. The dude's popping 98. He looks so comfortable in his role. He looks like he's just in command, and it's been great to see. Like, I tweeted it last night. He's becoming a weapon out of the bullpen. Takes 2 innings. Takes 2 innings of the burden in this game, and doesn't give up anything. Offensively, Goldie had another 3-hit game, and that includes the RBI double in the 1st inning. He then homers in the 4th, which was a bomb to left center. 21st of the season. Goldie is now tied with Alec Burleson for the team lead in home runs, because Burley has cooled off big time as far as the power numbers. And, Goldie's been hot recently, and all of a sudden, there he is. Team lead, 21. But the Cardinals only had 1 hit between the 5th and the 11th inning, so it was a pitching dominant game in those middle innings after Matz was gone. The bullpen for the Cardinals did really, really well and kept the Brewers off the base paths. Same thing on the other side. The Brewers weren't giving up anything to the Cardinals. So we end up going to extra innings where neither team scores in the 10th inning. In the 11th, Goldie gets the RBI single up the middle. They had the infield in with the runner at third and one out. That gives the Birds a 4-3 lead. They turn it over to Helsley, who strikes out Contreras. He whiffs Mitchell. That brings up the Brewers' hottest hitter. Now, I had a little issue here. All right, Willy Adames comes up. Granted, Adames in this game, 0-4 at this point, 3 strikeouts. But he has been on fire. 5 straight games with home runs. Like, he's just been on fire from Milwaukee recently. I was shocked to see them pitch to him there with a base open. Now, granted, it wasn't Ali or Daniel Descalso making the calls in the dugout at this point, but I was a little shocked. On deck, you have a much less dangerous hitter in Sal Frelick. I just would have avoided Adames altogether. I really wouldn't have gone after him, but the Cardinals decided to stay aggressive. Helsley was looking good, so I can see both sides of it, but I just don't want to take my chances when I've got a much weaker hitter coming up. So he goes after him, tough at bat, and Adames ends up getting the single, right? And it's on a ball, and this is where more controversy comes into play, where Siani dives, appears to have made the diving catch, and as he's rolling over, the ball squirts out of his glove as he's finishing the dive, goes as a base hit. The run scores from second. We're tied up again. Some fans thought it was a catch. Some did not. They reviewed it. The ump said it wasn't. And for me, I always thought that you had to complete the play. Like when it comes to baseball, you know, the guys usually diving plays, whatever they do, and they hold the ball up. They've got control. They've got it in their glove, or they hold it up with their bare hand. And that's how you're like, yep, you're out. Siani wasn't able to do that. You know, he had it. It was in the webbing. He rolls, and then it flies out of his glove. Now, some people were saying, you know, well, isn't it like on a double play where there's the transition and they drop it there? The out is still at second base. He wasn't transitioning anything. He wasn't pulling the ball out of his glove with his hand to hold it up and then dropped it. Like it squirted out of his glove before he was able to control his body and stand up. I thought it was a hit. It was a tough hit, obviously, because I love Siani, and it was a heck of an effort. But it was hard to argue, in my opinion. So he would get his revenge, though. The revenge of Michael Siani in the 12th inning, got that clutch 2-run single to left. He steals second, goes to third on the throw, scores on a Burley sack fly. That makes it 7-4. Helsley comes out for a second inning, a badass. Not something he's done much, but he's like, I want the ball. According to Ali afterwards, Helsley was like, I want this inning. I'm finishing this game. Goes and gets his 7th win of the season. Cards take game 2 and now have a shot at winning not 1, but 2 straight series against the Brewers. So they'll do that tonight with Sonny Gray on the mound. We'll take a look at this game and how things are shaping up in the wild card standings next on Locked On Cardinals. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike the other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch your winnings roll in. Now, if you sign up today, right now, get your phone out, check the app, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. NFL season starts tomorrow. Who's hype? Chiefs and Ravens in the first game. You kidding me? What a battle that's going to be. Caleb Williams, #1 overall pick for the Chicago Bears in this year's draft. Check this out. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard will get you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in the month of September. You heard me right. 1 yard. 1 little yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it is gone when September ends. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. With the season winding down, we know we're running out of games for the Cardinals. They're going to be back in town this weekend. The Seattle Mariners will be there. And Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets faster and easier. With killer last-minute deals, they've got the all-in prices, the views from your seat, lowest price guaranteed. They just take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And it's not just for baseball. You can save up to 60% by buying last-minute tickets for all sports. We're talking about NFL and college football, as well as music. You want to go to some concerts. You want to go to a comedy show, theater. All of this is available on the Gametime app. Again, flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, no those secret fees, seat views, Gametime ticket coverage, which means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and all tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who's got you covered every single day. You can find a link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sonny Gray, back on the bump today. That is not Sonny Gray. That is a picture of our super fan who can't wait for the Cardinals to get back home, by the way. But Sonny Gray is back on the bump tonight against Colin Ray for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Gray, 12-9 this year, 3.96 ERA, was very good in his last start at Busch Stadium when he went 6 innings, allowing just 1 run on 4 hits. He strikes out 4 against the Padres. In 2 starts this year against Milwaukee, he is 0-2. Now, the first start in April was a really good one. Again, it was at home when he did that, when he went 6 1/3, allowed 2 runs and struck out 12, but the Cardinals had no offense. They lose 2-0. His last start against them was in Milwaukee back on May 9th, and that did not go well. He got clobbered, 6 runs on 7 hits, 3 home runs in just 5 innings. This year, it's been night and day of what you get when Sonny Gray is at home or on the road. Been so much better at home than on the road. His last 2 starts on the road in Cincinnati and Minnesota have not been good. Hasn't won a road game since July 20th. It hasn't been good. We all know key. He's got to keep the ball in the ballpark, avoid the big 3-run home run. Solo home runs, you've heard it before. You'll live with them. It happens, but it's the big ones. It's the 3-run blast that that Willie Adames is really good at. That's the one you got to keep your eye on. You can't let that happen in this game if you want to beat the Brewers. As for Colin Ray, 12 wins this year, 3.70 ERA. He did shut down the Cardinals over 5 innings against Sonny in that game back in April, 5 shutout innings against them. At home this year, he's 7-3, 3.87 ERA. Opponents hit just 214 against him in Milwaukee, but 15 of his 24 home runs against have actually come in their home ballpark. He gave up 8 home runs in the month of August in just 5 starts, so maybe we'll see a little long ball action tonight. Some pretty even splits against lefties and righties, so I would expect a very balanced lineup tonight, similar to what you have been seeing recently. Standings-wise, the Cardinals are 5.5 back in the wild card. They are a game back of the Cubs, who have lost their last 2. The Mets, who are in front of the Cubs, have won 6 in a row and 8 of their last 10, so they're peaking at the right time. They're just a half game back of Atlanta for the 3rd wild card spot. So needless to say, the Cardinals, they just got to take care of their own business. You just can't worry about what everybody else is doing. You just got to keep stacking wins. Win. Win as many games as you can. And win as many games and as series as possible, because you have no choice. You don't have any leash left. Like, every loss is just another scoop of dirt on top of you as the season comes closer and closer to an end. We need the intensity that we saw last night. I love the way the guys played the game last night. Like, just the demeanor, the way they were going about things. That's what I need to see. They looked pretty darn lifeless on Monday. This that we saw on Tuesday, much, much better. I need to see that again, and that needs to carry over into tonight. And Sonny Gray just needs to step up. Sonny Gray, if he's going to be your number one, he's the ace of this staff. He's got to win games like this. These are the ones that he's getting paid the big bucks for. These are the games that he has to come out and he's got to take control and win it for you. Sonny Gray can't be losing to Colin Ray again. Okay? That's unacceptable. All right? So off day on Thursday. Need this win tonight. Would give them back-to-back series wins against Milwaukee, which obviously would be great. And when they do come home this weekend, Seattle Mariners, the sinking ship known as the Seattle Mariners, come to town, who don't hit the ball all that well, have good pitching. So might see some low-scoring games in the weekend. But let's worry about today. Get that win tonight. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. You can also subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button because that helps the channel grow. And that's what, we're trying to do here at the Locked On Podcast Network is continue to grow and to be your place for all of your teams each and every day, no matter what sport it is. Obviously, you're a Cardinals fan. I'm a Cardinals fan. Let's do this together. Let's get the love for the Cardinals out there even more for more people to see. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.